if you displease the right people, the world closes in on you very, very fast.
Nightmare Alley comes from director Guillermo del Toro in his first film since the Academy Award winning The Shape of Water. But was the wait worth it? An ambitious carny with a talent for manipulating people with a few well-chosen words hooks up with a female psychiatrist who is even more dangerous than he is. I was excited for this film, but I knew nothing about it. I just knew it was directed by Guillermo del Toro, and Bradley Cooper turned down a lot of roles to be in this film. Now, I was so excited for this film. I love his vision for fantasy and monsters, even though this film has no monsters, but he just has a great eye for fantasy filmmaking. First compliment I need to say about Nightmare Alley is it looks fantastic. He directed the shit out of this film. It looks incredible. It is visually stunning. He has such a creative way to just bring you into this fantasy world. But this time, this isn't really a fantasy world. Everything seems pretty real, but there are so many sequences where Bradley Cooper is walking around, say, a carnival, and there's just so much creative imagery all over the screen. That, Guillermo del Toro really put his heart and soul into each little prop, frame, color, everything. And it paid off because this is one of the best looking films all year. And I love the story here. I was always engaged, always interested. There's a lot to tell. And I won't talk about it at all because all I saw was one trailer and I still had really no idea what the film was about. And it goes in ways I wasn't expecting. It surprised me. There are points where I'm like, all right, where's this going? What is the point of all this? But there is great payoff. He takes his time to tell his story because there's a lot of details you need to pay attention to for things to make sense later, for the twists and turns and everything. And I love films like that reward you for really paying attention. All the performances here are great. This is a huge cast, but we'll talk about Bradley Cooper because he turned down other roles to be in this film, and I'm pretty sure Leonardo DiCaprio is supposed to play his role, and I can't really imagine this role being played by anyone but Bradley Cooper. I thought he was really good in this film. There is one scene at the end that I thought was fantastic by him. You can tell he's giving it his all because his character has development throughout the whole film that goes in ways I wasn't really expecting, but it's a type of development that at the beginning of the film, it seems like a completely different character by the end of the film. It's extremely hard to do, and I thought he pulled it off well. The story has lots of twists and turns. It's shocking. It's intense. And I thought this was one of the most interesting films of the year. But it's not perfect. This film is nearly 2.5 hours, or I think it is 2.5 hours. And so there are times where it drags, and there are times where there are some serious pacing issues. And thinking about the film now, I don't know what they would take out to fix that. Because, like I said before, I really like how he takes his time with some things, to develop some things, to build some tension. But because of that, there are parts of the film that do drag and affects the overall pacing. There are some things that happen at the beginning of the film that aren't really brought up ever again. And I thought that was sort of jarring. And even some things that happen like halfway through the film. I'm all for having things open up to your own interpretation. I get all that, like your own meaning to things. And there are times where there are things that happen that I think are really effective and really interesting and things I will be thinking about for a while. But there are some that I wish there were some straight answers to. Nightmare Alley is one of the best looking and also best directed films of the year. Guillermo del Toro, you can tell, put in so much heart and effort into every frame, every prop, every shot, the colors, the set design, everything like that. He is a master of just getting you sucked into a fantasy world. And this movie takes place in real life, but the way he directs this film and tells the story, it feels like you're being submerged into a fantasy tale. All the performances are great. I think Bradley Cooper does a great job. His character has a lot of development, and I think he absolutely crushed it in that department. I thought the story here was very interesting. It's a story that I will actually be thinking about for a while now after seeing the film, but it's not perfect. There are pacing issues because this film is like 2.5 hours long. I appreciate the film for taking its time to develop some things. And I know I'm not the only one that thought this film had some pacing issues because some people at my screening fell asleep and were fucking snoring. I don't think the pacing issues are that bad where you'd fall asleep in the film. That's unfair to say. But there are some pacing issues because the movie's a little bit too long. But overall, like I said before, this is one of the best looking films of the year with an excellent story and excellent performances. And I really enjoyed myself with Nightmare Alley. I'll give Nightmare Alley 8.5 Davy Daves. I'm really concerned how this film is going to do. It's doomed to fail because it literally comes out the same day as Spider-Man. I don't know what they were thinking. Why'd they pick this weekend to have a Guillermo del Toro movie to come out? This is a director that could sell some tickets. It's like the studio threw him into the fucking slaughterhouse. And they're like, yep, your movie's just not going to make any money. Don't know what they're thinking there. So I'm concerned how it's going to do. I hope it does all right because I thought it was a pretty good film. So, Nightmare Alley. Let me know what you guys thought of it. If you've seen it, I'm curious to hear. And thank you so much for watching. Click here to see more of Dave's Takes.